I'm Sue Greenwald with the Empowered Light Holistic Expo, and our next expo is April 26th through 28th, 2019, at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks, PA, outside of Philadelphia. And I'm here tonight with Brad Johnson and John DeSouza, our featured speakers for this particular expo. I wanted to introduce them to you and also talk a little bit about what they'd be talking about. So, hey, Brad and John, how are you?
Hi,
Hello,
Sue.
Great to see you. Great to be.
Well, all right, since you're there, John, why don't you tell a little bit about how you got started and a little bit about what you'll be doing at the expo. I have the titles and the topics of your talks Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I'm John DeSouza. I'm also known as the X-Man because early in my FBI career, I got involved with the show called The X-Files from like the 90s, for those who remember that. And I have been investigating mysteries and the paranormal ever since. And it's been something I've always worked on, whether by coincidence or by plan of the universe. And so I've always been working on those sorts of things. And those are the, as a matter of fact, those are the presentations I'm going to be giving at the expo that I'm really looking forward to. And that'll be some very interesting stuff.
It's going to be a great expo. I'm so excited to have you both. How about you, Brad? Can you talk a little bit about what you'll be doing at the expo?
Yes, well, again, for the past 10 years, I've been channeling an entity known as Adronis, and he basically represents a Syrian multidimensional consciousness. So he is from the star of Sirius A, and I started connecting with him back in 2008. So a little over the past 10 years, I've been doing a lot of interactions, mostly with people one-on-one from all over the world, thousands of clients, readings and sessions. Also been doing a lot of different forms of events from all over the country, and again, worldwide as well too. So Adronis is going to come through, and he's going to be talking a lot about the shifts that we're going through, a lot of the collective momentum about what's happening right now, how people are branching out of them to their own reality, and the momentum that's coming through as well. So we're basically going to get a lot of clarity in regards to the momentum of energies that's happening right now, the collective shift that's taking place right now, what people can do to kind of ease the transition as well too. And of course, we'll have interactive Q&A as well too. So people can ask questions, any questions they want, to Adronis, because he's kind of like a galactic encyclopedia. So he covers a lot of information.
Very excited about that, and I'll be asking for Q&A beforehand so that we can be very streamlined during the event itself. Mm-hmm. Both Brad and John's events would be live streamed, so if you can't make the expo itself, you can live stream their video and even get a copy of it after the fact, which is really exciting.
And there's also the second workshop I'm doing, cellular body regeneration as well too. So in a nutshell, that works to teach your cells in your body to self-heal, to reprogram them and heal into areas, healing organs, healing areas of the body that may be stagnant. So we'll be talking about that as well too with cellular body regeneration.
So if somebody came to cellular body regeneration, it's a 2-hour workshop. Will they learn everything they need to do to use your technique?
Yeah, we're actually going to be demonstrating the technique in the workshop. So you'll learn how to do it. It's a very simple guided meditation. We basically work with what's known as the theta brainwave state, and teaching you how to work with the cells, feel the cells for yourself, reprogram them, and direct them into clearing out any particular forms of toxins within the body.
Excellent. So I think pretty much everyone on planet Earth could use that workshop.
Oh, yes, I would say so.
And then you'll be channeling Adronis on Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
For those that are not familiar with your videos, can you tell us a little bit about who Adronis is?
Well, again, he represents a Syrian consciousness. So he exists in a probable reality, as he terms it. So if people are familiar with Abraham Hicks, who Esther Hicks channels, or Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, or Seth, channeled by Jane Roberts, then it's kind of in that very much flow as well too. So like I said, I started channeling him back in December of 2008. I was doing what's known as channel writing or automatic writing at that particular time, and he came through and he introduced himself and said, Brad, I'm a future version of you 297 years in the future. I've come back at this time to share this knowledge with you and to help you to spiritually evolve. And as you spiritually evolve, you'll be taking others with you to help spiritually evolve as well too. Is this an agreement that you want to bring forward? So I did. I certainly agreed. And since that time, I've had really amazing encounters with him as well too. There was even times where I thought I was going completely crazy. I was doing a lot of this channeling, and I said, you know what, guys, I have to know if this is real. Is this a real thing? So I went out to my balcony and I just started kind of saying a blessing out to the stars and saying, if there's any ships in the vicinity, any allied ships that want to share with me, please just show yourselves. I want to make sure I'm not going crazy. 5 seconds later, the star wheels right out of the sky and just shoots right across the sky. Lasted like about over 30 seconds sighting. My ex-wife also saw it as well too. And I said, okay, well, that's it. That's all I needed. So I'm not going crazy. So that was my feeling certainly at the time. But there's been so much information that he has provided. Like I said, he's like an encyclopedia, and he shares a lot of great, powerful information. It's really transformed my life. And he helps people to really look into their life path, their life stream, and helping them to evolve themselves into the people that they want to become. So moving past the idea of inauthenticity to come into authenticity.
Well, I've been a kind of a Adronis junkie ever since I discovered you, Brad. And I love the messages. I love that they, number one, the questions are answered. There's no dancing around the question. You get the answer. Mm-hmm. And it's clearly spoken. It's understandable. It's practical. Sometimes done with a little humor, but it's to the point, and I really appreciate that. And I also love the wide range of topics that you've talked about, and I've learned a lot from them as well. They filled in the cracks on many of the questions that I've had, so I think that those that come to the expo will be really excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, any questions are fine. Some people like to ask about, the person. I've had people just, again, for all walks of life asking all kinds of different questions. Will my dog survive surgery, or what's this new job I'm getting, or whatever it is, right? So there's all kinds of different varieties of questions, and people say, or what's the purpose of the universe, right? So it can go from how's your dog doing to what's the purpose of the universe. So that's everything in between that, right?
So our topic is going to be Saturday the 27th at 2 p.m. with Brad, and you'll be channeling Adronis, and it's shifting into the new earth, what's necessary to move into the higher frequency. So it's really like what's next for us, and how to make sure we're on the wave that's going forward.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's basically the rainbow bridge, that we're crossing a rainbow bridge right now between third and fourth density Earth. And that just represents the idea that there's a new dimension unfolding, that there's new opportunity, that there's a greater depth perception of reality that's unfolding right now.
Excellent. And there'll be an opportunity for Q&A. Mm-hmm. And then on Sunday at 12 o'clock noon, all right, so Sunday's the 28th, you're going to be doing the cellular body regeneration, a 2-hour workshop.
Exactly.
Using theta wave, basically.
Theta brainwave state, yep. Mm-hmm.
So you'll be talking about it. People will get to experience it during the expo, and then they'll have that as a takeaway.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So those that can't be at this expo can live stream those, experience it live, and then they'll get a link to the video. They'll also get a link before the expo so that they can send us their Q&A.
Great. Oh, that sounds good.
Exciting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Back to you, John. How are you?
I am great. Great.
So on Sunday, you're doing a workshop called Clear Hearers. Can you talk a little bit about what a clear hearer is?
Sure. And I'm just tickled to be here with Brad and to see his material as well, because it juxtaposes so well to the stuff that I'm talking about. Clear hearers are people who receive a great clear voice of authority during times of crisis, times of difficulty, and events that are completely unexpected, and that are able to receive these messages, and that very often do not know where these messages, what the source of these messages are. And my book, The Clear Hearers, is like an investigative file that really puts together the clues and draws up like an FBI profile, if you will, of this personality, of this character. Brad already knows who he is channeling, and he's able to share that with us. But in the case of clear hearers, these are people who are already receiving these types of messages, and we need to really get together with each other because I also put in my family history, which is a very deep multi-generational history with clear hearing, as well as review the historical figures throughout history that have been clear hearers and who have spoken about it themselves, so that we can compare our own experience to theirs and see what really is the deal and what is the source of clear hearing.
It sounds really interesting. So the average person could come to the Clear Hearer workshop and get something out of it. It sounds like they'd get some information, and then they'd maybe get some support, some connection with others, and find out maybe how to develop their skills a little bit more.
Absolutely. These occurrences are so common. Everyone has had these experiences, basically, in my experience. Even people who are completely materialist, non-believers in anything, that as a matter of fact, have had these experiences. And basically my workshop is also a presentation where I will prove to people, I will prove to them that not only they have had these experiences, but how these experiences commune between their fellow experiencers and how it all comes together to point to a single perpetrator, let's say, who is behind all of this clear hearing experiences.
So that's going to be Sunday at 2:30. It will also be live streamed for those that can't make it. It sounds very exciting and very interesting. Yeah. Tell us about your other presentation you'll be doing, the X-Man, A Paranormal Life. Tell us about how that got started and what you'll be talking about that afternoon.
Oh, that got started with television producers that I'm always in contact with, who are always asking me for the biography, basically, of my life, and being able to talk about all these cases that have dealt with the paranormal and investigations that have gone on. And some of these investigations you can actually see online if you just go to vault.fbi.gov, where these files have been declassified and put on the net because they're of a certain age, and then they just get declassified and put on the net. But most of these cases have never been talked about before. And my main presentation is just me finally bringing forward the cases as much as I can talk about. And that's kind of a legal procedure where I finally figure out how much I can talk about on these cases and what I have to leave out. But I have finally come up with the complete list of all the cases and experiences that I've had as the X-Man that I can actually share with people. And I've completed the list, and there's some shocking stuff in there, shocking material. And it's going to be pretty surprising for people who are able to see that presentation when it comes up.
It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
And again, we'll be live streaming it for those that can't make it, and they'll get a video link. But it's better if you can be there in person, of course.
Yes. And I don't want it to be at the same time as Brad's, because I want to see Brad's.
No, it is not. They're one after another.
I got to see John's as well, too. Got to make sure we space it apart good so I can see it.
They're spaced apart. And now you'll both have vendor booths at the expo, meaning you'll be there all weekend mingling with people. So John, what will you be doing at your vendor booth location?
At my vendor booth location, I will be selling, of course, copies of my book, of course, The Clear Hearers, which is right here over my right shoulder. And I will be also my first book, The Para Investigators, the cases of supernaturally gifted investigators, and of course my most well-known book, The Extra-Dimensionals, where I explain to people what I know about alien visitors, who they really are, why they're really here, and what messages they have imparted to us directly that is not well known by people, but it's out there if people are able to look for it. That's what I'll be doing at my vendor booth.
I feel like we need more presentation times. It sounds like we could talk about this for hours. It's so interesting. But it sounds also like people will come up to your booth, strike up a conversation. Of course, they'd want an autographed book, but then you'll be able to answer their questions and mingle with them face to face, which I think there's a great value in. So that sounds very exciting.
Absolutely. The best part always about these get-togethers is always being able to have direct contact with people. And then people always telling you, because a lot of them already have already, shared your material in the past, and then them telling you the results that they've had, the help that they've had, how it has taken away their feeling of aloneness, of being these experiences being unique to them. I mean, I was just listening to an experience that Brad had before we went on the air, and it juxtaposed perfectly with something that happened to me. I was in my backyard in a grove of fruit trees, and I was just looking up at the sky doing my meditations and prayers, and I was doing something, and then all of a sudden an airliner, a commercial airliner, comes directly over my home, which never happens here in Arizona. It never comes through this route, but apparently there were some storms or something, and the airliner came right over the spot where I was standing, and it lit up 3 different multicolored orbs that had been standing right over my head. I mean, the one was orange, yellow, and the other one was green. And apparently they had been standing right over, but invisible, of course, until the airliner lit them up like a spotlight. And then as soon as I saw them, they went like this in all different directions, like, oh my gosh, we're caught. And they just scattered.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But anyway, it's just amazing because now I just heard an experience from Brad that was...
Yeah, and that's very similar to some other experiences I've had from other people as well, too. Like I was talking about before we went on the air, was that I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy, doing all this channeling work. And so I went out to my balcony and I just put out a prayer. I said, if there's any allied ships in the vicinity that want to share with me and just let me know that you guys are actually here, I'm not going crazy, this isn't all being made up in my head, please show yourself. And then 5 seconds later, a star goes out of the sky, shoots right across the sky, 30 seconds long. My ex-wife was a witness as well too. So yeah, I've had some pretty incredible encounters. I've actually had projections of Adronis that have come in as well too, when I've just been half asleep, like it's at 3 a.m. All of a sudden I'm seeing this silver silhouette of Adronis, and he's showing these light circuits, these symbols in that way. And as soon as I get these light circuits, these symbols, then I start getting like major abundance flowing through me afterwards. So I've had 2 encounters with him like that as well too. So yeah, we have some really extraordinary experiences I think we're going to share too. A lot of people.
Yeah, and I like the way that Brad described that we're in an age of like some sort of rainbow transition. I'm not sure how you said it.
The rainbow bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us to help these people who are realizing that this physical materiality it's a facade, and what's real is just beyond this. Yep. And we need as many portals as possible to show people what really is true, what is really real, and what really matters. That's why it's so important to have these diverse points of view, like myself and Brad, that come forward and yet all lead kind of to the same thing, sort of.
The funny thing as well, too, as I've noticed, is that people always have their different ways of life. People will be CEOs, they'll be in corporations and stuff like that. But when they get the chance, they'll raise their hand and saying, you know what, I've had those experiences as well, too, right? So it's like a Fortune 500 guy, and he's had all kinds of success and all that. But as soon as they get the opportunity, they'll admit, oh, yeah, I've seen ships. I've talked to beings and stuff like that. Like, oh, my God, this guy's credibility. What's going on? So everybody from every walk of life, and especially with the thousands of people I've talked to over the years, they've all have some very empowering and powerful statement to share relating to other encounters, whether it be paranormal, whether it be extraterrestrial, whether it be their own spiritual experiences. Everybody's had one. And the ones that tell you they don't are lying to you.
That's so true. Yep. That is so true. Yeah. And my particular problem is that a lot of my people tend to be in law enforcement. And so it's a little more problematic to trust them and what they're doing. Because I'm just like, geez, law enforcement people suck. Because I look at myself and I'm just like, oh, it's hard to trust them. And I have that problem too sometimes with people in paranormal community, in alternative community, whatever you want to call it, and who are just like, oh no, this person is FBI. It's gotta be bad. It's gotta be bad. But and I try to explain to them that it's not like CIA. FBI is a very different organization. I mean, it's corrupt. It's corrupt now, yeah, because of what's going on with what has happened in the political world with the FBI. So it's been very badly corrupted. But I was in the last generation of FBI agents before this current whatever's going on right now. And we learned a different way of life. And
before the James Comey situation.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, I've had people who are like former FBI agents and who've reached out to me. Oh, we've got paranormal experiences. But as soon as I looked them up, if they had anything to do with Comey or that crew, I'm just like, okay, no, I can't partake with people like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know sometimes which people are genuine, and which ones are not. So I have to be careful with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've had a lot of people that have come up to me. Actually, I've had a few scientists that have actually wanted to have a session with Adronis to see exactly how you build spaceships. And so Adronis says, well, we wouldn't really tell it to you like you would build a circuit board, right? It's very, very different in regards to the type of element that you would have to use for the ships. You'd have to use and the idea of what's known as singularity drives as well, too. So he talks about a lot of different types of ships that aren't really the quote-unquote nuts and bolts that we may find behind the scenes. A lot of them are kind of like living craft as well, too. And basically that he's talked about singularity vessels, he's talked about light ships, he's talked about biological vessels as well, too, organic ships. And these vessels are all very much alive and have their own consciousness. So, and then the scientists are, I think that's a little out of my league. Yes. So, and then, of course, doing what you can as a translator to try and translate a lot of these, technicalities with what people want to know about with building ships and stuff like that. But I think if you're going to try and build a spaceship in your backyard, you might get a visit or knock on your door if something like that occurred.
That is true. That is true. Hey, Sue, it looks like it won't throw it back to me unless you talk first.
Oh, no, I've got you on my screen, but it's working.
Yeah, I wrote about that, Brad, in my book, The Extra Dimensionals. Because, I see I'm not lighting up, but I'm still on screen. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I actually believe that all extraterrestrial ships that are genuinely extraterrestrial are living creatures themselves, and there tends to be no one inside. They are their own form of life. They are their own things, and they actually accompany alien visitors when they come into our reality as familiars. Yep. They carry out small tasks for them. They do things, important things sometimes for them. Mostly they just collect information for them, data on us, and that's their primary function. But they do other things too. Sometimes if you put on those military ops goggles, you can see them in the sky
the night
fighting with night vision.
The skirmishes,
Yes, fighting with each other and having those little skirmishes and stuff, because they're kind of like, I consider them kind of like dogs, because what I see up in the sky looks like a dog park to me.
Yes.
Looks like dogs just running at each other and beeping each other and fighting, but there's no catastrophic fight.
Right.
I mean, the dogs aren't going to really hurt each other.
And
that's what I see. And so I definitely believe that this is a separate form of life that we're seeing.
Yes,
when
exactly.
we look up there.
That's true as well too. I've actually got a lot of channeled encounters about the night vision goggles and seeing the ships in the sky. Some of that is actually SSP, so some of it is actually our own guys shooting at other spacecraft that our visitors aren't supposed to be here, etc. So there's like patrols. There's like these squadrons that kind of fly around the Earth. There's even been reports of SSP guys doing some really weird things. They're actually coming in. They're actually like seeing somebody giving them a finger while they're flying by, and then zipping out here as well too. So some of them are kind of like the hotshot mavericks, right?
Wow.
So they have that as well too. But yes, I have certainly had encounters from what Adronis has shared as well too. He says, well, actually, what we will say is that many of the skirmishes that you see above your planet are actually your own governments or your own SSPs that are taking place, that are chasing away other visitors who aren't supposed to be here.
It sounds like with Adronis, you could actually do presentations on like any separate areas of life that matter.
Yeah, I've done part of those, of those as well too. But it's great to have other confirmation as well for people who have, gone into documented cases as well too. It's great to see commonality with a lot of this information that comes out.
That's what it is, because I go through so many documented cases, some of which have been ignored, profoundly ignored by ufology community and others. This is stuff that's not convenient for them. It doesn't help their agendas, and yet so much of it juxtaposes with the stuff that you're coming up with. So it's
Well,
amazing.
it's great. Yeah, I like to read the Clear Heroes book because it sounds very, very interesting. I was actually just doing a presentation about this not too long ago, not so much about the Clear Hearers, but about Kundalini and how all Kundalini basically exists right in the sacrum of our spines. And at a certain point, we'll get these little jolts of Kundalini. It looks like rainbow fluid. If you're actually able to dry it, and it almost looks like a dry rainbow resin that's contained in a dish. There's actually a report of people like being able to take like a chisel and a hammer and are actually trying to chisel the Kundalini or the DMT out, and you get sparks of rainbow light flying everywhere, right? And if you actually look very, very deeply, when like they're doing autopsies as well too, you can actually see rainbow fluid going through the spinal column.
Wow.
At times, and that's all Kundalini. So we'll get that at certain times to activate centers from our clear hearing, from clairvoyance, from all of these things. It's all just bursts of Kundalini that are coming through us.
Wow. Well, with clear hearers, it's always the primary criteria is that clear hearers never get voices through the ears.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come through the ears.
No,
it tends to come always from either it comes from one of the chakra centers. Like we have one famous clear hearer who used to got the voice from his chest. He said, "Oh, it came through my own chest." Well, that's one of the chakra centers. Another one, the solar plexus. Others, like myself, it would just be a voice coming from behind you, just behind you, and just coming through in waves that are so strong. It feels like you're standing next to one of the speakers at a concert, at a rock concert, and just that deep bass just kind of rumbling through you and shaking your bones. And those are the earmarks of clear hearing as well.
Exactly. I got the subtle ones in the pineal. So when I communicate with Seth, so he comes through like, okay, talk about this, talk about that, talk about that. So it's all right in there. It's in the center of the pineal nexus where I get mine.
Nice. There's also the still small voice, which is talked about in a lot of sacred religious texts, like the Buddhist writings in the Bible as well. And the still small voice is something that tends to sit at the solar plexus. And it's really not a voice at all, even though it's referred to as a voice. That is just the prompting. It's this little prompting that's planted in you by creator force, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And it's just that little feeling, that prompting that you get, do this, don't do this, don't do this. And if we lived in a society that was perfectly clear of electronic interference and all this noise, we would be in constant contact with that still small voice all the time. None of us would ever do anything wrong. We would always do the right thing. We would always make the right decision. And we would be living in a very different society if people were in contact with that.
That sounds like the third brain, or the second brain that they call it in traditions, like Taoist traditions. You basically have the dantians, the intestines, the heart, and the top of the head, and those would represent like the three brains. When you tap into them, they talk to you, right? So they have these communications with you. So it sounds very familiar.
Oh yeah, it's really amazing stuff.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be great. Looking forward to April.
Well, I think one of the things I'm very excited about is you two have made a great connection, and we all have, common interests. And I think so many people at the expo itself will have the same interest. It's going to be very exciting. And I know, Brad, you have a new project that you're working on. I wanted you to talk briefly about what you'll be doing at the expo in your free time.
Yes, exactly. So I got kind of carried away because we got such great information coming through here. But yes, I'm doing what's known as Awoken TV. So this is a video on subscription platform, video on demand. It's kind of like Gaia for people who are familiar with Gaia. It's kind of like Netflix and Udemy combined. And so I'm creating this very big network, and it's going to basically feature, conversations like this. So we're going to basically look into everything from spirituality, metaphysics, consciousness, from conscious living to everything, astrology, numerology, tarot. All of it's going to be on Awoken TV. So I'm putting it together right now. It's looking to be rolled out by March 31st. So the vending booth I will have there will be for Awoken TV. So I'll probably have a laptop or two there where people will be able to sign up for a discount, and you can check out this amazing network. And John, I'll probably have to get an interview with you to put on Awoken TV. I think it'd be great.
Great. Discounts for early adapters. That's
exactly. Yep.
So you'll be able to mingle with people all weekend. They'll ask you questions. You'll explain Awoken TV and what the purpose is, and just make sure that they have all their questions answered.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And if I'm not there, I'm sure I'll have a volunteer that'll take care of things if people want to sign up.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And one thing we need to clarify at the expo is that you're not going to be doing readings themselves at the expo. Many people have told me that they're waiting to meet you and have a reading with you at the expo, and I keep trying to let them know you're not doing readings there. So
yeah, well, what they can do is they can contact me through my email, info@newearthteachings.org. And if you guys do want to do private sessions with me, we can do it before the expo. So I could probably just do it at my hotel room, for example. So just drop me an email, info@newearthteachings.org. If you guys do want to do private sessions with me, drop me a line that way, and
Right.
we'll see if we can set something up.
Right. And we even, I'll be over at the Expo Center setting up all week. So you could even use a room there if you prefer.
Okay.
If you want to meet people in person.
Yeah, well, once I'm at the expo, it's all the presentation business and Awoken TV. But before and after, we can certainly do some private sessions.
I'm really excited about hearing both of your presentations. It seems like you have so much in common, and there's so much. It's going to be very exciting for everyone to come. So thank you.
Okay. So Sue, I got to ask you, what are you going to do at the expo?
Oh, I'll be running around half crazed, but I will be watching both presentations. I'll make sure I'm there. So generally, I start to walk down the aisle, and I'm interrupted with a question or a problem, and it will take me probably all weekend to make it down the aisle. So many times I don't even get a chance to greet all the vendors or the people that come. I try to be there to kind of be the hostess and greet people, but it usually doesn't happen.
Well, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Might be different this year.
So yes, and I'm trying to get more helpers. And so for those that don't know, I started the expo because I was strongly guided to do so. It wasn't because I felt it was a great business idea, or I felt like I needed more projects, because I'm pretty busy to start with, and I was pretty happy with what I was doing. I ran a wellness center. I teach yoga. I do nutritional counseling, and I do all sorts of spiritual classes and events, and I loved what I was doing. But I guess Spirit felt that this was a way for me to get the word out about, my interests and my lifestyle in a way that would hit more people. So I was strongly guided to start the expo. I disregarded, and it wouldn't go away. So roughly 6 months later, I decided to pick up the phone and take the action steps needed to start the expo. I started it from scratch with the contacts that I had in the Philadelphia area, and I felt that the expo has been extremely successful. And after about 2 expos, I decided I was so busy I had to close the doors of my wellness center. So I still teach 3 yoga classes a week, and I do some consulting, but I'm not pursuing that because the expos themselves keep me so darn busy. I do also do spiritual retreats and travel to cool places that I'm called to. It's not because I feel like I need a trip. It's because I'm guided to go there for a reason. Either there's a healing that needs to be done, there's some information we need, there's a reason for it. So I go where I'm called to go, and the people that show up are the perfect people for that experience. So it's been really fun. It's been really fun. So for this particular expo, I feel like we've got the perfect combination of speakers. You guys are going to be great, and I think people are going to be so excited to see you. And I like what you said, because I've been thinking a lot about how our bodies are so important. And of course, in our society now, we're eating the chemical food, we have the chemical water and air, and we don't really take full care of ourselves. So in addition to being distracted by our electronics and all the other stuff we have going on, we're not tuning into the messages that we're receiving all the time from Spirit. So one of the things I like to think is that when we're clean and clear with what we consume, it just makes it a little easier for us to recognize those signals and tune into them. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard because we start to do something and we're distracted. It moves at a fast pace, and the pace is picking up. It's only going to get faster, I think. So it's been very interesting the past couple of years, and I think this year is going to be super interesting. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other topics we should talk about?
Oh, geez, I'm pretty sure we could spend many hours talking
Yeah, me
about
too.
something. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a few more videos with the like we'll go we'll go four-wheeling on those uncharted territories.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That's
Yeah,
Mhm.
really
yeah,
cool. Because yeah, I have a lot of there's a lot of things going on now
yeah.
that people really need to pay attention to. Besides besides what's happening in the political world, of course, but one of the things that people really need to look up for themselves, because there's no news or investigative journalism anymore, of course,
Mhm.
of any real sort. Uh, so you're not getting any information at all, really, of anything important. But since December 26th of last year, there have been giant portals opening over major cities across the United States and the world, in different parts of the world. And it's been happening right there in front of, in the middle of the night, in these cities, these giant sort of like bluish greenish portals have been opening up in the sky, and many UFOs coming through those portals into our reality. And people have their phones. People have been videoing this
Mhm.
all over the world. And it's been happening about every 5 days in different cities. And it's been occurring. And then the forces of the cabal have been blowing up transformers and gas stations to try to account for these portals opening up, because they are desperate for us not to have communication with these beings coming through these portals, whether the UFOs are independent life or not. But stuff is coming through. And this has been happening regularly. It happened up to 2 weeks ago. It happened in Tennessee, in a city in Tennessee. It's incredible, but it's also happened in Brazil. It's happened in China. It's happened in other countries as well, and it's happening on a regular basis. And it's being filmed. People are getting it on their phones. This is the most amazing thing, and yet people don't know about
Yeah.
this
Yep.
New
unless
York City had a big event right around Christmas time, and wasn't it down in I'm going to say New Orleans, but I don't think it
Yes, one of these happened in New Orleans, right outside New Orleans.
was a very big thing, and there were a couple like little Facebook mentions of it, but no reporting about it.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, not a word, because they'll be shut down. They'll be shut down. They'll get a knock on their door from Men in Black, and it'll be terrible. And so instead they're reporting this nonsense about a transformer blew up, like as if a transformer somehow blowing up, or a gas station or whatever, would light up the entire sky
Yeah.
for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's physically has not even a physical connection there.
Some of my friends were actually in New York City, and I saw it from two of their phones at the same time, different perspective. And then, of course, I saw it through other sources, the same exact event, huge, the whole sky lit up. So
exactly. And people were terrified. People were in these cities where this happens, and it happens at night for some reason. Why, I don't know. It happens at night, but they go from pitch black at 12 midnight to all of a sudden it's like daytime. The entire sky is lit up with this portal, this swirling portal that's in the middle of the sky. And I'm just from my own experience, I can tell people most genuine UFOs, the majority of most real UFOs, are invisible. They're just not visible to our spectrum of light, because our bandwidth of vision is so tiny. We can't see most UFOs. When you see a UFO and it's extraterrestrial in nature and it's actually visible to you, it's because something's gone wrong, or there's backlighting from the sun. And I actually demonstrate this in my presentation. It's usually because something weird has happened, or some light has gone off inside the vehicle itself. Those are the only UFOs we actually see with our bare eyes on video. But the majority of UFOs are not visible to us. They're just not. So I really am very certain that all those portals probably had hundreds, if not thousands, of UFOs coming through them. And only a few were actually caught on video on people's cameras. where they actually were able to get one or two UFOs coming through the portals, and they're right there on video. And I can show them to people, and I do in my presentations, because nobody else is going to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it also goes back to the NASA tether incident back in the 90s as well too, where this huge, gigantic electromagnetic tether, and you see thousands of ships all around it. It's like looking at a petri dish and just seeing all these different ships. And that's actually one of the things that blew me away when I was just starting to get into this, was just, oh my God, I'm looking at all this. And this is like NASA footage as well too.
Yeah. That's one of the things I show in my presentations, because that entire incident, for instance, in 1996, the tether incident, all of those ships that were suddenly visible, the only reason those ships were visible was because the angle happened to be weird, and the sun was directly behind
the light,
where it lit up all of those ships, which I don't believe were supposed to be visible to us.
Yes, that's right. And that's another thing as well too. All portals will open at nighttime, even in national parks as well too. This is why
is that?
National parks will try and close down the parks after dusk, simply because that's the time where void exists. And when you're actually going into the nighttime, the portals are actually much more susceptible, because they become exposed by light rays. The light rays actually disrupt the portal networks. And so when you're actually in pitch black, there's no light rays to disrupt the portal network. So light in that way actually is what creates like a distortion. It's like taking a prism and putting it against, a light beam and letting it reflect elsewhere. So when you have it at nighttime, there's no distortions. The portal becomes pure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is good.
There's also some of those occurrences in Canada as well too. So we get, I'm pretty sure it's a worldwide phenomenon as well too. Even if you look at down in South Africa, like with Peru or Brazil, this is happening all the time. There's ships coming out all the time, even in broad daylight as well too. Mexico and South America have incredible amounts of UFO activity.
And where are they all going, Brad? That's my question, because we're talking thousands. We're talking, if you add them all up.
Here's the interesting thing. Humanity is not the only experiment on this planet. There's basically about 17 or about 20 other experiments that are happening under the oceans. They're happening in the inner earth. They're happening actually in the atmosphere as well too. We're not the only experiment on this planet. There's about approximately 17 other experiments that are happening here on Earth, so that these ships will go to those other forms of experiments that are taking place on this planet. So we're in shared space, you could say.
Wow.
It's wild. It's wild stuff. There's mermaids that exist underneath the oceans. There's, again, you could call them aquatic humans that exist many miles underneath the water. I've actually talked to inner earth beings as well too. They're known as the Delphi. They exist just underneath the Delphi, Greece, and they've been there for millions and millions of years. Corey Good also talks about the Anshar, right? So there's all different types of beings, all types of different experiments that are happening on this planet. It's like a big honeycomb. It's like looking at a hive, and we have all these different quadrants that have all these different experiments going on.
Wow. The Earth is a way station.
It is. It's an intergalactic exchange center of information. Wow. So yeah, absolutely. We got this is exactly what happens too, about the Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon Triangle, about all these ships passing in and they quote unquote vanish, but all that's happening is they're being transited into another dimensional Earth. So it could be like, say, 30, 40 years later, they pop out again. And for them, it felt instantaneous. And say, what happened? Hey, all of a sudden, it's like 30 or 40 years and going by. So they actually shift to another dimensional Earth. And they're way portals. A lot of them in the ancient times would actually be used to go to different Earths. They could be transgalactic as well, too. You could go to different star systems with them. It's, I think, because a lot of the cataclysms that happened upon the planet, they malfunctioned a lot after they were going down.
Wow. So we need to learn how to transit these portals as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they all come at night. So
that's amazing.
Super exciting.
So the ones that do come in the daytime would most likely be stargates. So if there's stargate portals that are coming in, and those are usually technological. So the Earth, it's kind of like looking at thousands of Earths that are all intersecting our own plane as well too. This is why you have the cities in the sky. At times it happens as well too. Like what people saw over China, is that these cities in the sky will start popping up, and it'll be there for a certain window of time, and it'll close. It's because Earth is a honeycomb. It's a honeycomb clustered Earth. And so you have these different windows of events that happen that actually intersect other worlds together with ours. In fact, you'll discover that certain people will come through these portal networks, and they'll actually have no idea that they're on a different Earth for maybe a few minutes before they go back into their reality as well, too. You have people that they say are dimensional travelers that can basically use teleportation. pop into this realm for a few minutes and then bam, they're gone, or a few seconds and bam, they're gone. And our world is constantly being intersected by all these different dimensional Earths all the time.
Wow. Earth is a planet of 1,000 galaxies.
You got it. Yep. It's a world within thousands of worlds.
Yeah. That's amazing stuff.
Like I said, we could probably write about 1,000 books on the topic and still not even cover everything that's happening. Earth is just, it's rich with all forms of life.
So complex. It's interesting, and we'll never know it all, will we?
Oh no! I mean, you have to really look at everybody. That's, we're all grains of sand, right? And we're all just offering everything that we have, even with the vast amount of information that Adronis gives. It's still only so much. You're looking at other people, with what John's doing and with what other people are doing, how they're developing these new healing technologies and new healing techniques, and all this ancient wisdom that's now coming back, and extra dimensionals, extraterrestrials. It's vast. It's one big, wild, crazy world, but it's a fun one too.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate both of you, your time tonight, and I'm so excited to meet you both in person, and we'll be talking again about some of these other great topics.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot more to
Thank
talk
you,
about.
Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.